My name is Richard. I'm 74 years old, and I know exactly when it ended. Not the marriage. That took another 6 years to finish on paper, but the actual thing, the part that mattered. I can tell you the day, the hour even. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October, 1989. I was 41. She was 39. We were standing in the kitchen. I don't remember why I came home early that day. Maybe I had a cancellation. I worked in sales back then, industrial equipment, spent a lot of time on the road. She was at the sink, washing something, a bowl, I think, and she asked me a question. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't angry. She asked if I remembered the name of the street where we first lived together. Maple, I said. Maple Avenue. She didn't turn around. She just said quietly, "It was Birch." I laughed. I actually laughed. I said something like, "Well, close enough." And that's when I saw her shoulders drop. Just a little. Not a collapse, not a sob. Just a settling, like something inside her had been holding its breath, and it finally let go. She didn't say anything else. She just kept washing the bowl. I didn't think much of it at the time. I met Janet in 1970. She worked at a dentist's office. I came in for a cleaning, and she was the receptionist. She had this way of smiling that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. We got married 2 years later. Everyone said we were a good match, stable, comfortable. And we were, I think, for a while. She wanted to talk more than I did. That was the difference between us. I'm not someone who needs a lot of words. I never have been. I say what needs to be said, and then I move on. But Janet, she liked to go over things. She'd want to talk about her day, about something she read, about what we should do for the holidays, about a conversation she had with her sister. And I'd listen, or I thought I was listening. But really, I was just waiting for it to be over. I'd nod, I'd say, uh-huh. I'd ask a question here and there to show I was paying attention. But I wasn't really there. I was thinking about work, or the lawn, or something I needed to fix in the garage. She never said I wasn't listening. She just kept talking. For years. We had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, Michael and Sarah. Janet was a good mother, patient, present. I was around. I provided. I showed up to the school events. I didn't miss birthdays. But I wasn't the kind of father who got down on the floor and played for hours. That wasn't me. I thought that was fine. I thought that was enough. Janet would sometimes say, "They're only little once, Richard." And I'd say, "I know." But I didn't. Not really. I thought she was being sentimental. The years passed the way they do. The kids got older. They needed us less. Janet started talking less, too. I didn't notice at first. Or maybe I did, and I was relieved. It felt easier, quieter. We'd sit at dinner, and there wouldn't be much to say. That seemed normal to me. I'd read the paper. She'd clean up. We'd watch TV in separate rooms. I thought that's just what happened when you'd been married a long time. The question about the street, that wasn't the first time she'd tested me. I realize that now. There were other moments, small things. She'd mention something we'd done years ago, and I'd get the details wrong. Or she'd bring up a trip we took, and I'd barely remember it. Once she asked me what color the walls were in our first apartment. I said white. She said they were yellow. I shrugged. I said, "If you say so." She didn't correct me after that. I don't think she was trying to catch me in anything. I think she was just checking if I'd been paying attention, checking if I remembered the same life she did. And every time I got it wrong, or didn't remember, or brushed it off, something in her went a little quieter. After that day in the kitchen, things were different. Not loud different, not obvious, but she stopped asking me questions like that. She stopped trying to pull me into memory. She stopped expecting me to remember. I should have noticed, but I didn't. We stayed married for another 6 years after that. In 1995, she told me she wanted a divorce. I was stunned. I asked her why. She said, "Because I've been alone for a long time, Richard." I didn't understand. I said, "I'm right here." And she just looked at me. She said, "No, you're not." I fought it at first. I asked her to go to counseling. She said no. I asked her what I'd done wrong. She said it wasn't about one thing. I asked her if there was someone else. She said no. I didn't believe her at first, but there wasn't. She just didn't want to be married to me anymore, and I couldn't make sense of it, because I hadn't cheated, I hadn't yelled, I hadn't left. I'd been there the whole time, hadn't I? We sold the house. She moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. I stayed closer to work. The kids were grown by then. Michael was in college. Sarah had just graduated. They took it hard, but they didn't say much. I think they'd seen it coming. I spent the next few years trying to figure out what I'd missed. I'd go over it in my head. I'd think about the fights we didn't have, the things I didn't say, the things she stopped saying. And slowly, over time, I started to see it. It wasn't one moment. It was 1,000. 1,000 times I didn't look up. 1,000 times I said, when I should have asked more. 1,000 times I thought, she's fine, we're fine. 1,000 times she reached for me, and I didn't realize I wasn't reaching back. She didn't leave because I did something terrible. She left because I didn't do much of anything. I was present, but I wasn't there. And there's a difference. I haven't spoken to Janet in years. Not really. We're polite at family things, weddings, graduations. She remarried about 5 years after the divorce. Nice guy, quiet, like me. But I've seen them together. He looks at her when she talks. I think about that day in the kitchen more than I'd like to admit. Birch Street, not Maple. It was such a small thing, but it wasn't. It was everything. It was her asking, "Do you remember the life we built?" And me saying without realizing it, "No, not really." I'm 74 now. I live alone. The kids visit when they can. They're good to me. But I know I wasn't the father they needed either. I was there, but I wasn't paying attention. I don't think you get a second chance at this. Not really. You can apologize. You can try to do better with the time you have left, but you can't go back and listen the first time. You can't go back and remember. You can't undo all the moments you weren't really there. I wish I could tell you I figured this out in time to fix it, but I didn't. I figured it out after, and that's the part that stays with me. If you stayed with me through this, I appreciate it. I'm not sure why I'm telling you all this. Maybe because I'm running out of time to say it. Maybe because I hope someone out there hears it while it still matters. I don't know. But if it makes you think of someone, maybe just look up. Remember the street. Ask the question. Be there while you still can.